Okay. Good morning, everyone. So we are from Group 2. We were excited to present our curriculum prototype, Learning by Living, a creative curriculum for connection and curiosity. And this project is designed with one big goal in mind, is to empower elementary learners through peer collaboration and student creative media. So next. So we were a team of 6 members. There's Alpha, Jesslyn, Kartika, Hairunisa, Lestari, and myself, Rafa. And together we hope this presentation can inspire new ways to make learning more meaningful and fun for young learners. Okay, the first stage, we move to first stage is empathize. Why did we create this? So based on our observation and interview with students and teachers at SD Teaching Citra Insani, we found that many students consider certain lessons boring or too difficult. And traditional methods like lectures and worksheets don't always spark their interest. On the other hand, teachers face challenges maintaining students' enthusiasm due to a rigid curriculum and limited access to technology. And that's why we came up with a creative, engaging, and student-centered curriculum prototype. A curriculum that connects students, spark curiosity, and invite them to learn by doing, learning, creating, and collaborating.
Okay, next we have define problem or challenge in the current curriculum. In the define stage, we identified the main issue is the low student engagement and the ineffective learning process. This problem is caused by several factors like uninteresting learning material, rigid text teaching methods, heavy textbooks, and unbalanced group work. Next, please. Okay, next we have problem statement. In the problem statement, we have two problem statements. First is for students. They find subject uninteresting, struggle with complex topics, and feel disconnected due to monotonous materials like plain worksheet and traditional teaching methods like textbook with large text blocks. And they also experience frustration with group work when some members do not contribute equally. Next. Okay, next, the problem statement for the teachers. They face difficulties maintaining student focus, especially when subjects are perceived as difficult. Classroom distraction arise when students feel disengaged. Teachers recognize that traditional methods may not be sufficient, but struggle to implement change due to school policies, lack of resources, and rigid curriculum structure. Next. Next is the main solution that in the curriculum improvement. First is use of digital tools. With digital tools, we can support learning and make learning more fun. And next, gamification and hands-on activities. This gamification can make students more engaged in the learning process. And the third is better group work strategies. And the last is flexible teaching methods. Next. Okay, what does this curriculum aim to address? This curriculum aims to address the needs of both students and teachers at STIT Citra Insani by creating a more interactive, collaborative, and student-centered learning experience. It helps students become more active and motivated, while also giving teachers more freedom and support to apply creative and relevant teaching approach.
So for ideas, what ideas did we explore? We explore student-centered learning approach to increase engagement, and we considered project-based learning, peer collaboration, and the use of student-generated media. We discussed replacing worksheet with interactive and real-world tasks like storytelling, role-play, media creations, and digital tools and games. How did we select and develop our final approach? First, after reviewing observations and teachers' interviews, we realized students felt bored and disconnected from traditional lessons. We brainstormed ways to make learning more joyful, active, and collaborative. We filtered ideas using these criteria. Is it age appropriate and inclusive? Does it foster deep learning and curiosity? Can it be applied across grades 1 to 6? We selected strategies that align with 6 core values: learner empowerment, relevance, creativity, collaboration, and learning. What makes our curriculum creative, relevant, and responsive? For creative, students make their own media, like videos, posters, etc. Design group projects and engage in role play and storytelling. For relevant, lessons connect to students' daily life and cultural context, like readings, rules at school or home, and diversity. Responsive, it's great. Content built developmentally and strategies are adapted based on students' feedback and engagement. We also use visual learning tools and collaborative activities to meet diverse learning styles. So, suggested visuals for the slide. Idea: role-play activities, student-created videos and worksheets. And why it was considered? It builds speaking skills, promotes ownership, and familiars to the teachers. Why we chose it? It increases motivations, encourages creativity, and replaces with games for better engagement. Next.
Prototype semester curriculum design. The curriculum is designed for elementary students in grade 1 through 6 with an approach that incorporates collaboration between students, student-made media, as well as project-based learning. Each semester is designed with a clear allocation of time, topic, and learning objective per subject. Next. Highlight about our curriculum developmentally operates across grades. This curriculum is a gradual approach according to the age and development of the child. In the lower grades, students play more while studying using song, pictures, and physical activity. In the middle class, they begin to be encouraged to think critically, talk, discussion, and experiment. While in the upper class, students are trying to be independent, think reflectively, and solve real problems through cross-subject projects.
Feedback teacher feedback is based on the feedback from the principal of SDT Citra Insani. The learning by living curriculum is seen as the creative and the student-centered approach that works well from the elementary student. First is First is relevant. Ulang-ulang. Relevant. First is relevant and the fun learning. The curriculum and students also make the media and work with the friend, make the learning more fun and active. The second is strong theory and the practice. The program is based on well-known education experts like Fulan, Haiti, and Colin in the connect teaching ideas with real activities in the class. Third is clear and complete structure. All important parts are include background, vision, mission, values, learning goals, and classroom setup. Four is student focus and the inclusive. Students are involved in the learning and the feel part of the classroom community. The curriculum support all learners and the focus on their needs. The informant, clear learning goals. Learning objectives should include clear, measurable success indicator using the SMART format, so it's easier to evaluate student progress. Second is better assessment design. The way students are the assessed need more the development. It should include different types of assessment, format, summative, authentic, and the simple rubric to score project, presentation, and the student reflection. Third is more visual. Adding picture, diagram, and the sample of student work will make the content easier to understand and more interesting. Four is the lesson plan example. Even though the teaching strategies are clear, it would be helpful include 1 until 2 full lesson and example. And the five is the simple language. Some part of language that is too academic, using more practical and easy to understand word will help teacher, especially in the elementary school, use the curriculum more effectively. Student grow. The learning by living curriculum helps students learn, work with others, and feel good about themselves. Students don't just listen, they create, share, and do this make them more brave and responsible. They do group work and the fun project and learn to think, talk, and create about others. Future development, what can be improved? The, by, the learning by living curriculum is ready, creative, student-centered, and strong. But there are still some parts and can be made better to make it easier to use in real classroom. Feedback from the teaching practice at the student Citra Insani. First is clear and the measure goals. Second is better and the varied assessment. Third is add more visual. Fourth is sample lesson plan. Five is simple language. And the thematic integration, more of digital media, student portfolios, and the last is real classroom experience.
In this section, I will talk about the overview of the lesson plan. For grade 1 lesson plan, the subject is English for the topic of Introduction to Self and Others, focusing on readings and self-introduction. The objective is to help students use basic readings like hello and good morning and introduce themselves using simple sentences such as my name is. This will be achieved through activities such as reading practice, flashcards and modeling by the teacher, a short song or video, and worksheet. By the end of the lesson, here students should be able to introduce themselves properly and politely. Our grade 2 lesson plan focuses on understanding and comparing rules at home and school. Students engage in group activities and discussions to explore the purpose of rules and practice discipline. By the end of the lessons, they are expected to demonstrate responsible behavior and explain the importance of rules in daily life. Lesson plan for grade 3. The subject is science, covering the topic of animals and their habitats. The objective is for students to be able to distinguish animals and their habitats. Active plan for grade 3 is the subject is science, covering the topics of animals and their habitats. The objective for this lessons is for students to be able to distinguish animals and their habitats. Activities include watching videos, guessing pictures, quizzes using flashcards, and worksheets. By the end of the lesson, students understand the habitats of animals. Lesson plan for grade 4, the subject is English, covering the topic of parts of speech, specifically nouns, verbs, and adjectives. The goals of this lesson is for students to identify and use the parts of speech properly. This will be achieved through activities such as introduction to parts of speech, classroom discussions, and fun grammar detective activities. By the end of the lesson, students were expected to be able to differentiate between parts of speech and construct their own proper sentences. Lesson plan for grade 5. The subject is English, covering the topic of daily conversations, focusing on readings and asking simple questions. The goal is to help students speak English confidently in real life, such as saying hello, introducing themselves, and asking questions such as how are you or where are you going this week. The main activity example are students working in pairs using dialogue strips, as well as role play activity. Ultimately, here they should be able to practice polite greetings and give proper response. Lastly, for grade 6 lesson plan, the subject is math with topic of fraction. The objective of this lesson is for students to understand applying fraction multiplication and division in real life. Students engage in guided practice, interactive modeling, and independent problem solving to explore how fraction operations work. By the end of the lessons, they are expected to solve contextual problems involving fractions and explain the reasoning using appropriate mathematical language. So as for the reflection, I will start off that through the experience of this group assignment, creating and developing curriculum book, I realized just how significant the design thinking process is. The structured nature of it helps me and us as a group. It gives us clarity and direction as to what I should do, and so that we're not confused as a group as well. And is it in addition to that, challenge I faced during this project was that to write a good curriculum, to write a good curriculum book, one really need to think about how it will actually help the students and innovate new ideas, which is the challenge. So that it can help them not just in the earlier problem statement, but also how to help them develop holistically. So how do we overcome this? Is by reflecting on today's issues, analyze what is needed, and incorporate that in the curriculum. So how will I apply this in my future teaching? I will definitely use design thinking, most especially in the creating of lesson plans. All right, thank you. Moving on.
And for me, through this project, we learned that a good curriculum should be joyful, relevant, and student-centered. Using the design thinking approach, we focus on real classroom needs and create lessons that encourage curiosity, creativity, and collaboration. We realized that learning is most effective when students are active participants, not just passive observers. This experience taught us to listen, adapt, and listen with empathy, skills we will carry into our futures as teachers. Next.
Okay, for me, what did I learn from using the design thinking approach? I learned the design thinking approach help us view the curriculum from the student perspective. This process encouraged me to focus not only on the content but also on how learning can be meaningful and enjoyable for students. And what challenges did I face? The biggest challenges I face is balancing our creative ideas with a curriculum structure that is still realistic and aligned with standard. To overcome this, we revert back to our classroom observation and interview and the teacher feedbacks, then prioritize ideas that were most relevant and feasible to implement. And how will I apply this process in my future teaching practice? I will apply design thinking as a foundation for designing lesson, starting from understanding student needs, generating creative ideas, and testing them and reflecting on the outcomes. I believe this approach will make my future teaching more focused on contextual and student centered.
For me, learning, I understood that the social interaction and the sense of the belonging are essential in the effective learning. The challenges is making students feel the connected to the content. I overcame this by using student creative and media group the collaboration. The future application, I will implement community-based and experience-driven learning and strategies.
From the process of design thinking, I learned the importance of understanding student needs in depth before design the learning. This approach helped me create a more empathetic and relevant curriculum. The main challenge I faced was structure creative idea into a systematic curriculum structure.
From the design thinking process, I have learned that it's very important to understand what students and teachers really need before creating a solution. We did interviews and observation at SDIT Citra in Sani, and we found that some subjects felt boring and too difficult for the students. The teachers also had problems and keeping students engaged because of the strict curriculum. And our challenges was to find ideas that were creative but still possible to use. We solved this by brainstorming and choosing the most suitable ideas such as student creative, media, and peer-to-peer learning. So from this experience, I realized that as a future teacher, I must always start by listening and observing carefully. In the future, I want to create more interactive, creative, and student-centered learning. A bit more.
All right, before we end this presentation, we'd like to highlight some key takeaways for this whole curriculum development process. Firstly, for the curriculum itself, based on the feedback from the experts or the teachers, the curriculum itself has proven to be effective if it were to be implemented and that it has achieved the objective of the earlier problem statement. Although there are still some minor improvement that we could do in order to refine the curriculum by following the suggestions from the teacher and create adjustment, the curriculum has potential to become a transformative model for the future elementary education in Indonesia. Secondly, for the design thinking process, it shows us the significance of using design thinking in developing the curriculum, most especially the empathize stage, which helps us in understanding and empathize with the needs of the students. Which on that note, it also serves as the foundation of our curriculum and guide us further. Secondly, on design thinking, it shows us the significance of using design thinking in developing the curriculum, most especially the empathize stage, which helps us understand and empathize with the needs of the students, which on that note is also served as the foundation of our curriculum and get us figuring out the proper solution and ultimately finish our curriculum. That's all for our presentations. Thank you very much.
Escucha las palabras de las brujas, los secretos escondidos en la noche. Los antiguos dioses invocamos ahora la obra de la magia oculta.